As the seasons of life unfold, a quiet truth begins to take root in our hearts. The things that hold the deepest value aren't found in our wallets, garages, or stock portfolios. With age, clarity often arrives, not as a thunderclap, but as a whisper. And that whisper tells us that life's most meaningful riches don't glitter. They glow. They glow in the soft laughter shared between old friends. They glow in the steady strength of a body that still carries us through the day. They glow in a peaceful mind, curious and calm, and in memories that stretch far beyond material wealth. With each gray hair, with each line carved gently into our faces, we begin to understand something that youth often overlooks. That real treasure is measured not by what we collect, but by how deeply we live. This isn't about turning away from the world. It's about finally seeing it clearly, about realizing that time, energy, and love are the true currencies of a rich life. Yet too often, we only begin to appreciate these truths once distractions have quieted, once the chase for more slows down. Only then do we pause long enough to notice what truly lights up our days. Today, we'll take a heartfelt journey together, an exploration into 5 timeless treasures of aging that many overlook, yet all of us have the power to cultivate. These are the gems that don't fade. They are the foundation of a fulfilling, joyful, and deeply meaningful later life. You might already hold a few in your hands, or maybe you're just beginning to see their shape. Either way, this journey is for you. Stay with me until the end, because the more of these treasures you gather, the more vibrant, connected, and purposeful your life will feel. And if you find you're missing one or two, don't worry. It's never too late to begin again. With each step, each choice, you can weave these gifts into the days ahead, building a legacy of health, peace, wisdom, love, and meaning that will outlast anything money can buy. Let's begin this beautiful journey, not toward riches in the bank, but riches in the heart. These are the treasures that make life golden. First, a clear mind and lifelong learning. Imagine waking up each morning with your thoughts sharp, your curiosity alive, and your spirit eager to learn something new. That's the quiet brilliance of a clear mind, a treasure that grows even more precious with time. It's not just about memory or mental quickness. It's about staying engaged, staying interested, and staying open to the wonders that still surround us. Many people assume that aging means mental decline is inevitable, that forgetfulness or confusion are simply the price of growing older. But science and real-life stories tell us something far more hopeful. The mind is like a muscle. It needs stimulation, challenge, and attention. When we give it those things, it doesn't just hold steady, it thrives. Think of your brain as a garden. Left untended, weeds grow. But with care, with books, puzzles, conversations, and new experiences, it blooms. The happiest elders are often those who never stop learning. Whether it's picking up a new language, revisiting an old hobby, or simply reading a thought-provoking article, these acts of curiosity breathe new life into the mind. Take Margaret, for example. At 72, she thought she'd earned a quiet, simple retirement, afternoons filled with crossword puzzles and television reruns. At first, the stillness felt like peace, but over time, she noticed herself forgetting words, losing track of stories, and struggling to focus. She told herself it was just age. But deep down, she missed the spark. One day, a friend reminded her how much she once loved debate. That spark flickered. Margaret signed up for a Spanish class. At first, she stumbled. Her tongue twisted, her memory faltered. But she kept going. She added painting, then joined a book club. And slowly, the fog lifted. Her mind became sharper, her thoughts clearer, her days fuller. It wasn't just learning, it was living. Lifelong learning isn't about classrooms or exams. It's about asking questions, exploring interests, and staying connected. Watch a documentary, try a new recipe, write a letter, call a friend and discuss something new. These small acts matter more than we know. Even 10 minutes of mental engagement, each day can make a difference. And when we share what we learn, with children, with friends, with our community, we not only strengthen our own minds, but inspire others to do the same. A curious mind doesn't just help us remember names or facts. It helps us stay ourselves. It helps us feel capable, independent, and alive. And in a world that's constantly changing, it reminds us we still have a place in it, a voice, a presence, and a purpose. So lean in, be curious, ask why, ask how. Because the treasure of a clear mind is one that gives back every single day. And no matter your age, it's never too late to wonder. Second, a legacy of meaning. There comes a point in life when we begin to ask deeper questions. What will I leave behind? What impact have I made? What echoes of my life will continue long after I'm gone? These questions don't stem from fear. They come from wisdom. Because with age, we understand that the most lasting treasures aren't the things we own. They're the values we pass on, the lives we touch, and the love we leave behind. A meaningful legacy doesn't require fame or fortune. It doesn't demand grand gestures or a name carved in stone. In fact, the most powerful legacies are often the quietest. The story you share over coffee, the advice you give in passing, the kindness that ripples through generations. These are the invisible threads that weave your presence into the future. Walter, an 81-year-old retired mechanic, once believed his life was ordinary. He'd worked hard, raised kids, paid the bills. When he finally retired, he felt proud, but also unsettled. He asked himself, what now? What truly lasts? His tools sat idle. His home was quiet. And though he had a full life behind him, he felt something missing ahead. Then one afternoon, Walter overheard a young neighbor struggling to fix his car. He stepped outside, offered a hand, and within minutes, a conversation began. That simple act lit a fire. He started mentoring teens at the local trade school, teaching them not just about engines, but about perseverance, patience, and pride in good work. He wrote down stories for his grandchildren, lessons wrapped in laughter. He fixed a fence for a widow down the street. Each act was small, but together they formed a legacy. Legacy isn't about what you leave. It's about who you lift, the moments you choose to be present, the wisdom you pass on without expectation, the love you offer without condition. And here's the truth, you don't need to wait. Legacy isn't just for the end. It's something we build every single day, in the way you treat others, in how you show up, in what you choose to nurture. Volunteering, mentoring, storytelling, simply listening. These are building blocks of a life that echoes beyond itself. And your impact might be greater than you ever imagined. One word of encouragement, one act of generosity, can ripple out farther than you'll ever see. So whether you're 65 or 95, know this, it's not too late to shape the story you leave behind. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. The most meaningful legacies are written in hearts, not headlines. You may never know the full extent of your impact, but you'll feel it. There comes a point in life when we begin to ask deeper questions. What will I leave behind? What impact have I made? What echoes of my life will continue long after I'm gone? These questions don't stem from fear. They come from wisdom. Because with age, we understand that the most lasting treasures aren't the things we own. They're the values we pass on, the lives we touch, and the love we leave behind. A meaningful legacy doesn't require fame or fortune. It doesn't demand grand gestures or a name carved in stone. In fact, the most powerful legacies are often the quietest. The story you share over coffee, the advice you give in passing, the kindness that ripples through generations. These are the invisible threads that weave your presence into the future. Walter, an 81-year-old retired mechanic, once believed his life was ordinary. He'd worked hard, raised kids, paid the bills. When he finally retired, he felt proud, but also unsettled. He asked himself, what now? What truly lasts? His tools sat idle. His home was quiet. And though he had a full life behind him, He felt something missing ahead. Then one afternoon, Walter overheard a young neighbor struggling to fix his car. He stepped outside, offered a hand, and within minutes, a conversation began. That simple act lit a fire. He started mentoring teens at the local trade school, teaching them not just about engines, but about perseverance, patience, and pride in good work. He wrote down stories for his grandchildren, lessons wrapped in laughter. He fixed a fence for a widow down the street. Each act was small, but together, they formed a legacy. Legacy isn't about what you leave. It's about who you lift, the moments you choose to be present, the wisdom you pass on without expectation, the love you offer without condition. And here's the truth, you don't need to wait. Legacy isn't just for the end. It's something we build every single day. In the way you treat others, in how you show up, in what you choose to nurture. Volunteering, mentoring, storytelling, simply listening, these are building blocks of a life that echoes beyond itself. And your impact might be greater than you ever imagined. One word of encouragement, one act of generosity, can ripple out farther than you'll ever see. So whether you're 65 or 95, know this: it's not too late to shape the story you leave behind. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. The most meaningful legacies are written in hearts, not headlines. You may never know the full extent of your impact, but you'll feel it. Third, emotional peace and gratitude. There's a quiet kind of treasure that often goes unnoticed. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shout. But when you find it, it wraps around your soul like a warm blanket. It's the treasure of emotional peace, rooted in acceptance, gratitude, and the gentle release of what no longer serves us. In our younger years, we often chase things, titles, praise, achievements, believing they'll bring happiness. And while they may bring moments of pride, true contentment comes from within. With time, we begin to see that real peace is not found in perfection, but in presence. It's not in fixing the past, but in forgiving it. It's not in having more, but in appreciating what already is. Emotional peace isn't the absence of pain, it's the strength to sit with it, to soften its sharp edges, and to move forward with grace. It begins with gratitude, the simple yet powerful act of noticing the sun on your skin, a warm cup of tea, a phone call from a friend. These aren't small things, they are everything. Alina, a 79-year-old grandmother, carried the weight of regret for years, a career she left too soon, words she never said, relationships that faded with time. She'd sit on her porch, the sky painted with color, and feel numb, trapped in a past she couldn't rewrite. One rainy afternoon, something shifted. She picked up a pen and wrote down 3 things she was thankful for: her health, her grandson's laugh, the blooming roses by her front step. The next day, she wrote 3 more. She called an old friend. She forgave herself for choices she couldn't undo. Slowly, the heavy fog began to lift. Gratitude, science tells us, actually changes our brains. It rewires us to notice joy instead of lack, to calm the storm instead of feed it, to feel even in sadness that life still holds beauty. And forgiveness, whether for others or ourselves, is another powerful key. Not because it erases the pain, but because it frees us from carrying it every day. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, a release, a sigh, a new beginning. Emotional peace doesn't arrive all at once. It builds, moment by moment, choice by choice. It lives in quiet routines, in setting down worries before bed, in speaking kindly to ourselves, in making room for stillness. It's knowing that we are not defined by our mistakes, that we don't have to have all the answers, that even with a few cracks, life can still be beautiful. This treasure, once nurtured, becomes the bedrock of joyful aging. It makes room for laughter, for connection, for the soft glow of contentment that no amount of money could ever buy. So pause, breathe, take stock of all that still surrounds you. And remember, even in the simplest moment, peace can take root. All it needs is your permission to grow forth. Deep relationships, As we grow older, the value of our connections becomes crystal clear. The cars fade, the titles blur, and even the photo albums gather dust. But the people we love, and who love us back, remain the heart of a life well lived. This is the treasure of deep relationships. Priceless, irreplaceable, and often taken for granted until they begin to slip away. In the rush of careers, raising families, and managing responsibilities, it's easy to assume that the people we care about will always be there. We postpone that coffee date, forget to return the call, or let months pass without checking in. But time has a way of quietly passing, and without intention, even the closest bonds can fade into the background. When we reach our later years, we often long for companionship more than anything else. And yet, too many find themselves sitting in silence, surrounded not by laughter, but by absence. The good news, it's never too late to reconnect. George, a 75-year-old widower, learned this truth firsthand. For decades, his career as a salesman consumed him. He worked late, traveled often, and always said, "Later," to his wife and children. But later came too late. When retirement finally arrived, he looked around and found the house quiet, the calls infrequent, and the relationships he'd once counted on distant. One evening, driven by loneliness and a flicker of hope, George picked up the phone. His voice trembled as he asked his daughter if she'd like to meet for coffee. She hesitated, then said yes. That small act opened a door. He called his son next, then reached out to an old friend. It wasn't easy. Rebuilding never is. But it was worth it. In time, dinners became routine. Laughter returned. He joined a local gardening club and found companionship in unexpected places. Slowly, the silence gave way to song. George rediscovered a truth we all know deep down, that love, when nurtured, never truly dies. Strong relationships don't demand grand gestures. They grow through consistency, honesty, and effort. A text that says, "I'm thinking of you," a walk with a neighbor, a conversation without distraction. These are the threads that keep us close. And when we show up, not just physically, but emotionally, we build something that sustains us far beyond wealth or status. Studies show that people with strong social ties live longer, experience less stress, and enjoy a deeper sense of purpose. It's not about how many people surround you. It's about how deeply you're connected to them. One true friend, one open-hearted conversation can light up your entire world. So reach out, rebuild, reconnect. Say the things you've held back. Forgive if you finally. Health and mobility. Among all the treasures of aging, there's one that quietly supports everything else of your health. The ability to move freely, to rise each morning without pain, to walk without fear of falling. These are gifts that many of us take for granted until they begin to fade. Health and mobility aren't just about living longer. They're about living better. Imagine waking up and stretching your arms above your head with ease. Taking a walk through your neighborhood on a crisp morning. Bending down to play with a grandchild. Climbing stairs without catching your breath. These simple moments, often overlooked, are the heartbeat of independence and vitality. Yet for many, retirement brings an unexpected shift. After years of hard work, the idea of rest becomes tempting, maybe even deserved. The armchair becomes familiar. The television hums in the background. Days slip into quiet stillness. But the truth is, the less we move, the more our bodies resist movement. Muscles tighten. Joints ache. Energy wanes. Before long, everyday tasks begin to feel like challenges. Roger, 78, knows this story well. After 4 decades at a desk job, he welcomed retirement with open arms. Long naps, cozy chairs, hours of TV. But within a few years, he found himself groaning as he stood up, short of breath on short walks, and feeling older than his years. It wasn't just time catching up. It was inactivity. One fall morning, something changed. Roger laced up his sneakers and stepped outside. Just 15 minutes around the block. The next day, 20. Then 30. He added stretches, awkward at first, then easier. His breath deepened. His steps lightened. He began to feel alive again. The body, like the mind, craves movement. Walking, swimming, yoga, dancing. These aren't just exercises. They're acts of love. They maintain balance, protect the heart, support strong bones, and ease the aches that often come with age. But health isn't just physical. It's what we feed ourselves. Vibrant, whole foods instead of processed convenience. It's how we rest. 7 to 8 hours of deep, restorative sleep that repairs and renews. It's hydration. It's listening to your body's whispers before they become screams. Prevention isn't just for the young. It's a lifelong promise we make to ourselves to stay curious, active, and attuned. A checkup, a shift in diet, a daily walk. These simple acts create a ripple effect that leads to energy, clarity, and strength. And most importantly, mobility is freedom. It's being able to join family outings, to dance at a wedding, to travel, to live with dignity and ease. So take the step, literally. Stretch, breathe, eat well, rest fully. It's never too late to begin again.